So looks are subjective, right? Right? I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, this is the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT. This color is called Rockwood Green, by the way. Pretty cool. It fits in with the off-road nature theme going on here. This trim level is more catered to an active and adventurous lifestyle. Oh, look at that, we have hood struts. So under the hood, we have a 2.5-liter turbo 4-cylinder, puts out 277 horsepower, 311 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired with an 8-speed wet dual-clutch transmission, 0 to 60 in about 6.3 seconds. Fuel economy ratings combined 22 miles per gallon, 19 in the city, 26 on the highway. This does have H-Track all-wheel drive. This can tow up to 4,500 pounds, and there is 8.3 inches of ground clearance. So you can see all the black cladding going along the bottom. That is to protect the bottom of the vehicle. We do get gloss black on the mirror caps and on the A-pillar. We have a flat black raised roof rail up top, and we get this little grab handle right here. So you see that goes in, you put your hand in there, and then it's easier to step up right here so that you can get up here to, you know, whatever you have up there. We get 18-inch blacked out wheels on this XRT, and they are wrapped with all-terrain tires. These are Continental Terrain Contact all-terrain tires, 245 on the width with a 60 series sidewall, and there is a donut spare in the back. Now, I do think the headlights look pretty cool. We have the letter H here in the daytime running light, also doubles as the turn signal. You can see 2 projector beam LEDs in there, an LED light bar going all the way across the grille. We have these 2 big openings here in the grille, and then 2 more smaller ones down at the bottom. We do have a turbo engine, and the back is a little odd looking. Some people say, even though this is an H, some people say it looks like a dog bone. Definitely can't unsee that. The taillights, they sit very low, so I think it just gives it an odd look. We have 2 large reflectors. We have some flat black on the bumper. We do get 1 chrome exhaust. It is real, and it does look pretty good, I'll give it that. Now let's head back into the cargo area. So this does have 3 rows. So we have this 3rd row folded. So when talking about storage, there's 14.6 cubic feet behind the 3rd row, 40.5 cubic feet behind the 2nd row, and a total of 79.6 with all the seats folded down. We get a 12-volt outlet off to the left and a full-size 115-volt off to the right. And there are buttons to drop the 2nd row seats. And back here, we get a jack set and some tools. There's our lovely window sticker and some additional storage. So now we are inside the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT. Do keep in mind that this is a mid-range trim level, so it's not gonna have all the bells and whistles, but they do give you some things for your money. They do try to pack in what they can at that lower price point to give more value. So starting off with the material quality, it's kind of a mixed bag. It's nice where it's nice, and it's not where it's not. So let me explain what I mean by that. Like on the upper, it's a nice soft touch plastic, smooth texture to it. There's this nice looking double stitching going across. Even this material right here, where this little hidden storage is. And then if we come over here to the door panel, on the armrest, it's nice soft leatherette. Got a grab handle built in, comes up the side just a little bit, and then we have more soft leatherette here up top with that same stitching as the dash. But if you look at the rest of the door panel, like all in here, coming all the way down underneath here and on the side of here, this is all hard plastic. And then this trim right here, while it looks nice, obviously it's not real metal, it's plastic. It is a bit cheap feeling. And I'm like 90% sure that even on the top calligraphy trim level, the door panel's pretty much the same. I mean, with the inclusion of maybe some ambient lighting, but overall the same. All right, next let's talk about the seats. We do get H-Tex leatherette here on the seats. I do think it's nice that they included that instead of cloth, because remember, this is a mid-range trim level. So it is power adjustable here on the driver's side, manual only on the passenger, but they do look and feel like real leather. We have a perforated seating surface in the middle. We have XRT embossed right into it. Nice stitching, no contrast stitching, but still nice stitching going along the edges. Overall, it's a nice design, pretty comfortable, but I think Hyundai always does a pretty good job with their leatherette. And another example is here on this center armrest. While we do have that leatherette here on this top part, along the edges right here, that's hard plastic. So if you tend to rest your elbow kind of on the corner, that's just going to be hard plastic you're sitting on. The one place in this interior you will find real leather is here on the steering wheel, so wrapped all the way around. And again, no contrast stitching. They really decided to go just full black on this interior. But Hyundai's newer steering wheels, I think they look nice, very Range Rover-like. On the horn button, you can see this adopts the new 4-dot Hyundai logo instead of the traditional H. And for those wondering, that's the letter H in Morse code. The controls are all very easy to use. We have adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist here on the left, and then voice command, phone, and audio controls here on the right. And we have the curved dual 12.3-inch screens. Now, the interesting thing with the gauge cluster is that even though the gauges, they are digital, there is a small display cut out, like a little square there in the middle. So I'm not sure if this is actually a fully digital gauge cluster. It doesn't appear to just be one display. I could be wrong. I've spent a lot of time with other Hyundais recently, but this one just looks a little bit different. But the small display in the middle, if you go through it, you got a compass, your adaptive cruise control stuff, tire pressure, trip computer. So your basic essentials, they're right there. But aside from that, it doesn't really display a whole lot. And of course, since this is a lower trim level, we don't get a head-up display. You do need to get a higher trim level for that. And now here in the center, we have the 12.3-inch infotainment touchscreen. And if you were wondering what Apple CarPlay looks like with the all-new iOS 26, here it is. So the whole theme of iOS 26 is this new thing Apple calls liquid glass, and that does carry over into Apple CarPlay. So you can see all these little translucent borders going around the menu icons, and as you swipe through, you can see how it kind of shows up underneath. Now, Apple CarPlay is lagging because I'm using the same phone to film this video, but I promise Apple CarPlay is not laggy on this. But anyway, this video is not about that. So the typical Hyundai infotainment system, it works great. It's got a lot of great features and no different here. Even on this lower trim level, you still get valet mode, sports and weather with a subscription, of course. It's got Hyundai Pay, the vehicle diagnostics, and the service reminders. And it also has the online manual, which I am a huge fan of, and I am glad that they included it in the lower trim level. Basically, anything you might need to look up in the owner's manual, you can just go in here and search for it, and it'll come right up instead of going through the manual book. You know, you can see it's a fat book. Imagine having to go through that entire book just to find something. And this also has a 6-speaker audio system, so no Bose, no branding, just the base 6-speaker audio system. So let's take a listen. No, I have to say, I think it's better than most bass systems I've listened to. It's definitely no replacement for an upgraded Bose system. The clarity is actually pretty decent, but you do get some compression and a little bit of distortion once you get into those higher volumes, especially if you listen to hip-hop music or anything that's overly bassy. So similar to the exterior, where there's a whole bunch of little H design elements, that also continues in the interior. So you can see here, we have this H here on the air vent, kind of goes all the way across, even over here to that other air vent. One thing I can say about Hyundai, when they have an idea, they stick to it. Dropping down, we have the shortcut buttons. I've done a lot of Hyundai reviews at this point, and this is one of my favorite features, actually. I use them a lot. They're always right there, and it's just easy to get to where you need to go. And now for the climate. Here in the front, we do have dual zone climate. You can sync them together. Now, the climate controls are all on this little display here. While I'm not a huge fan of that because you can just see all the fingerprints on it, at least it's not in the screen, so it's always right there when you need it. We do have heated seats here in the front row, but no ventilated. And if we look here, we have the camera system, but it's just a backup camera. There's no 360, there's no front facing camera. We have 3 viewing angles. We have this standard one, this wider view, and then a top down. This one's really good for lining up a tow hitch. And if you look over here, we actually do have a tow mode. But even though we don't have the 360 or the 3D model, we do have parking sensors. So as you get closer to obstacles over here, it will show up. We do still get Sirius XM. It's disappearing in a lot of vehicles in favor of using the app on your phone, but it is still built into the system here in the Santa Fe. And moving further down, we have a wireless charger. As you can see, there's space for two, but on this XRT, we only get one, which is a little disappointing because they're making it very obvious that you could have two, but you don't. Down here, we have two USB-C ports. And what's cool is that this outlet here on the left has this button here in the middle that you can change between just charging or charging and data out. The one on the right is strictly just for charging, but you can choose which mode you want for the left. Down underneath, we do have a 12 volt. We have a really big open storage compartment down here at the bottom. You can put a purse or any other large item you have. We have two cup holders that go down pretty deep. And then inside the center console, we kind of have two layers to it. So this is a dual hinge. So it opens from the front, also opens from the back for those backseat passengers. But this little tray right here comes out and then it goes all the way down to the bottom. And the bottom can also be accessed from the back seat. And what's great about that is not only do you have just the storage you see here, but it goes further underneath the cup holders. So if I pull it out, you can see there's all that additional storage that went all the way underneath the cup holders. So there is a ton, and I mean a ton, of storage here in the center console. And then as I showed earlier, we have that compartment there, one just above the glove box right here, and then the glove box itself is still a standard size, so there's a ton of storage here in this Santa Fe. Up above, we do get a standard size moonroof, and the thing that's weird about it is that when you open it, the glass slides above the roof instead of below. So I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, the glass is fully on the outside of the car instead of going down and sliding underneath the roof. I just find that to be a little odd. But from the inside, it really doesn't make a difference. So now heading back into the second row, you can see we do have a third row. We'll get to that in a bit. So now I'm in the back seat right behind where I'd have the driver's seat adjusted for myself at 6 feet tall. These second row seats do slide forward and back. Got the bar right here. So here with the seat all the way back, I have like close to a foot probably of legroom. So that's fantastic. If I slide all the way forward, well, yeah, it's not gonna work. Here, I'm not touching. So let's see now in the third row, how much space I get behind myself. So to get into the third row, there's a button down at the bottom, also up at the top. So if I press that, it slides forward, and then I can get in. All right, so now I'm in the third row and I have this seat here on the right in the same position I had that one. So now sitting behind it, as you can see, while my knees do come up pretty high, it is doable. I still have about 2 inches of legroom to spare, so it is possible to have full-sized adults here in the third row. It's not ideal, but it is possible. So here in the third row, there's an air vent on each side, and there's actually a third row AC control. So you can turn it on and off, and then you can adjust the fan speed here in the third row. In a lower trim, that's pretty impressive. So we get 2 cup holders on both sides, but then there's also easy access to that 115 volt outlet that we get in the cargo area, because we're pretty much in the cargo area. So while there are no USB-Cs, which I'm pretty sure this blank thing right here is where it's supposed to be, you do get the 115 volt outlet, so you could plug in something back here. But here in the second row, we get a pocket behind both front seats, some hooks here to hang stuff, and as I showed before, that storage compartment slides out in the back, and we can open up the center console from the top, and we get 2 USB-C ports right there on the backs of the front seats. So now we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Hyundai Santa Fe XRT. First, let's start off with the ride quality. Now, it's as good as it possibly can be for an off-road oriented vehicle with all-terrain tires. So the suspension has struts in the front with coil springs and multi-link in the rear also with coil springs. And off-road oriented vehicles, they tend to have a smoother ride because of the extra flexibility in the suspension. But the all-terrain tires do make the ride ever so slightly stiffer because it's a very stiff tire. And even though it's stiff, it still provides a lot of cushion because it's a thick tire. It has a 60 series sidewall. We're riding on 18-inch wheels, which by today's standards are pretty small for an SUV. But smaller wheel sizes typically correlate with a smoother ride. And the overall ride quality, it has its pros and cons. Pro is that it's very quiet. I'd say it's remarkably well insulated, and I really took notice of that last night when I was driving behind someone driving a Harley Davidson motorcycle. You know, Harleys are pretty loud, and I could only hear it just ever so slightly. So, you know, when I took notice of that, I was like, wow, I would expect that to sound a lot louder. And now that leads me to the con of the ride, and that's kind of just like the overall build quality. While the insulation is good, there's a lot of squeaks and rattles in this interior. And I'm a bit surprised by that because recently Hyundai's build quality, especially their interiors, has been pretty good. They felt pretty solid to me, and I never really ran into any issues like that before. And the bumps and potholes and stuff in the road, while the suspension handles it well, the interior doesn't. There's just a lot of creaking and rattling, especially like up here in the dash area, and then there's something in the back, not sure exactly what, that also rattles quite a bit. This is rated to tow up to 4,500 pounds and 0 to 60, as I said earlier, right around 6.3 seconds. Fuel economy is 22 combined, which isn't great, but when you factor in the power, makes a little bit more sense. The steering and the handling feel pretty good. There's a little bit of body roll on turns like this. When you put the drive mode in sport, the steering does stiffen up a bit, but even just in normal mode, the steering, it has nice weight to it, it's well balanced, and I think it's tuned pretty nicely. So this has the 2.5 liter turbo 4-cylinder, 277 horsepower, and 311 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired with an 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission. Now I am gonna have to hold off now on the acceleration test because it's raining. I have to wait till the road is dry. You know, dual clutch transmissions, they have a reputation of being a bit jerky, not very smooth, and I have to say that is 100% the case here. The power delivery, it's just not very linear. It doesn't feel very refined, and it's plenty quick, don't get me wrong. It's just a bit all over the place, and when you factor in the turbo lag, sometimes you just find yourself putting your foot down and just like nothing happens. Or you'll put your foot down and it'll rev, there's just a disconnect. And before we do the acceleration test real quick, I'll go over the drive modes. You can see them show up here. Also on the side there, you got normal, sport, my drive, which is customizable. So if you go into settings for that, you can customize the powertrain and the steering. So you have normal, sport, and smart for powertrain. So smart will be the most fuel efficient, and then steering, normal, and sport. So not a high level of customization, but customizable nonetheless. And we have snow mode, which you'd probably come to expect on an XRT trim level like this, something that's meant for a more adventurous lifestyle. And for the acceleration test, we're gonna put it in sport, as always. All right, so we're gonna come up here, come to a complete stop. No brake torque or anything. We are going a little bit uphill, so that's something to keep in mind. I have it in sport mode. So quite a bit of lag there, as you can see. I'm just not a huge fan of this transmission, and the thing that's weird is that Hyundai puts an 8-speed dual clutch in a few of their vehicles, like the Elantra N and also the Santa Cruz, the pickup truck. I also had that as a press car. I found both of those transmissions to be a lot smoother, but I don't know, this one kind of just stands out. It just doesn't feel very refined. And the Santa Fe, it was all new last year for 2024, and I know there were a lot of complaints about the transmission for that 2024 model year. I've heard from a few different sources that Hyundai took steps to improve the transmission for 2025. Now, I haven't driven a 24, so I can't really make a comparison, but from my sole experience with this one, I do think it still needs work. All right, so now we are out here on the highway. now let's see acceleration already in motion. You know, there is still a little bit of lag. I'm kind of surprised by that. The engine, to me, it just doesn't sound all that confident, and there isn't really any kind of discernible noise from the turbo. Not that that really matters, but an observation. See, it revs really high, and then it feels like it kind of just gets lost somewhere at the top. So I don't think the powertrain is underpowered, but it is very slow to respond. So the MSRP of this 2025 Santa Fe XRT with all its options is $42,475. A big thank you to Hyundai for sending me the Santa Fe to keep for an entire week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. So please let me know your thoughts on the new Santa Fe down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. And be sure to follow @OpticalAutomotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.